Social media. It's something we all use, and whether we like to admit it or not, time spent behind a screen often quickly transitions into time spent neglecting meaningful areas of our lives. And while it's really important to acknowledge the extensive and meaningful impact that social media can have when consumed in short, rewarding durations, it's the consumption of social media for the purpose of passing the time that starts to become a problem. And for the past couple of weeks, I've been really struggling with the latter. You know, instead of going outside and doing positive things like saving old people from burning buildings, I've been staying inside and watching videos of people burn in burning buildings. Okay, it just got kind of dark. Get it? Because the screen went black? I'm so funny. Anyways, I bet you're wondering why I'm telling you all this, and the answer comes from an idea I had a couple of weeks ago while I was binge watching those videos. What if I went without social media for 30 transformative days? And that's exactly what I'm deciding to do. As I said, I've been feeling kind of bad, and the goal is that I'll replace some of these bad habits with better habits, so that hopefully by the end of the 30 days they'll bleed into my normal lifestyle. So, now that I've explained why I want to do this, let me just show you me deleting these apps. So, I'm not sure how well this is going to show up, but I got my favorite social media apps: YouTube, Snapchat, Yahoo, and Pinterest. Totally not downloading those last two for this video. But as you can see, I went through and deleted those. And just to tell you the time frame, it's currently December 26th, 2014, and I'm going to be going until January 25th. But I can't just delete social media and do nothing with all this time I'm left with now. So I decided, I made a list of 5 healthy things that's going to fill this time. And in order to make sure I'm actually accomplishing these goals, and in order to make sure I'm actually achieving milestones that I'll remember long past the 30 days, I made challenging goals for several of them. And finally, with a little bit of extra time on my hands and a lot of hard work and motivation, I present to you my 30 days without social media. I've never actually made a song before, so this whole process of creating one was definitely a learning experience. The first step I took when making this song was coming up with a list of instruments, and it may come as a surprise to you all, but I decided to use piano and drums as the main instruments. And I also made sure to include a couple of instruments throughout it that I'm not really comfortable with, just so I could practice those a bit more, and just because I thought it made the song more interesting. And after spending about 2 weeks directing most of my free time towards making this song, I finally have a finished product that I'm proud of. Okay, so I just made this song on here, and I'm not gonna lie, it took a long time to make. Also, on a side note, I made this painting when I was a child, and I just thought it looked cool. Anyways, now it's time to go put this into the real world. Okay. So now I have to tune this, but you know what they say, you can't tune a fish, but you can tune a guitar. Also, I've never actually played guitar before, but it can't be that hard, right? Please? Alright, it's currently 30 degrees outside, and I'm about to run 5 miles. What could go wrong? Currently on mile number 1. It's cold. Mile 2. It's snowing. I'm gonna die. Mile 4. Pain. Mile 6. On lap 2. Or what? Mile 2, mile 9, mile 5, mile 6, trying not to fall. Mile 3, mile 8, mile 10, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Why are you filming this? Besides getting those clips for that montage, I also recorded my thoughts throughout the 30 days, which helps paint the picture of how this experience has positively affected me and just made me more happy in general. And I'm just gonna leave a quick spoiler. No, I didn't end up saving anyone from any burning buildings, but I did end up burning just a couple of buildings down because it turns out that I have domatophobia. I think I have domatophobia, which basically just means I'm terrified of buildings. Anyways, here are my thoughts taken from the first week of this challenge. Okay, so it's currently day number 2. It's like 33 degrees outside and I'm about to go for a run. I'm trying to like make a challenge for each of these things. For this one, I'm gonna try to do a half marathon by the end of the 30 days. Alright, it's currently the end of day number 1, and don't mind my hair, I just got back from a 3-mile run. Ever since I deleted social media, it's the best thing ever. I feel like I'm finally alone in my head. I actually have time to process things. So I really hope this is inspiring some of you to go out and do something similar where you give up something for a week. But yeah, it's going really good and I'm really happy I decided to do this. I really can't stress enough how much this experience has positively changed me. Like, it took me out of one of the darkest, most sad periods in my life and placed me into a newer, much happier one. And a lot of that has to do with all of your support, so I just wanted to say thank you for always watching my videos and giving me so much positive feedback, because it means so much to me and I really appreciate it. Some of the immediate changes I felt during this experience were, I remember on the first day, it was like this huge weight was lifted off of my chest. I was no longer living the lives of 30 different people, and I could just focus on my own thoughts and feelings, which was really important. And yes, there were some boring moments, but I feel like the good far outweighed the bad, especially because if I hadn't chosen to take the risk to stop doing something that I thought was becoming a problem, I might have never gotten around to doing all of these things that I love, like make this video right now. Finally, another really big aspect of this whole journey was just how busy I've been every single day, which I thought I should share because in the next clip I explain how I dealt with all this busyness and stress, in case you're going through something similar and need some tips to get through it like I did. Okay, so I'm about halfway through this challenge. Ever since I started this challenge, I've been really busy just running around and recording everything, which I love so much, but it's still a lot of stress and it took a while to learn how to deal with it. So a couple of the tips I learned is, if you're taking on a really big task, the best thing to do is make a list of what's most important and just focus on each thing in the task and don't think about the future as you're going through them, if that makes sense. And the last thing I learned from this experience is, if there's anything you want to do, just please go for it. Don't make any excuses, just do it. I remember for the longest time I've been telling myself, oh, I'm too busy, I can't do it. But I think right now I've proven to myself that I can never be too busy to do what I love. And if you love what you're doing and you're also busy, then it doesn't feel like you're busy, it just feels like you're having fun. Anyways, I'm probably gonna go run a couple miles now. Luckily I haven't been chased by any birds yet. I've chased a couple though, just because it's funny to watch them fly away. I'll catch you later, and I can't wait to see what happens next. I just wanted to take a really quick moment to say that if you're new to this channel or haven't subscribed yet, it would literally mean so much to me if you would consider subscribing. As a smaller channel that's trying to grow, it would help me out so much and has a much bigger impact than you might think. It's completely free and you can always change your mind. Anyways, back to the video. Okay, so I'm currently a week away from running the half marathon, and I just wanted to quickly run through how it's going to work. I'm going to be running this 4-mile loop in the road 3 times, which will give me 12 miles, and then I'm going to be finishing up the last mile in a nearby neighborhood. And then, when I finally cross the finish line, I'm gonna eat a popsicle staring off into the sunset. I don't know if eating a popsicle in the winter is the best idea, but I'm hoping it's gonna be cinematic. And you know what everyone says, fight cold with more cold. It's currently January 23rd. It's about 20 degrees outside, and in a couple hours I'm gonna be running a half marathon. I feel like I've been training pretty hard for this for the past couple of months, so hopefully I'll be able to reach my goal of under 2 hours and 5 minutes. If I don't end up reaching it, that'll just give me motivation to try again in a couple of months when the weather gets better. Anyways, I should probably start getting ready. It's time to go earn that popsicle. As I stretched in preparation for this fateful run, I thought through everything that had led up to this critical moment. That one time I was feeling a little bit down about my life, and that voice popped into my head, telling me to try to get a little bit better. The countless hours of running I had accumulated in preparation for this one chance to reach the time that I had been desperately working towards. All of those late nights I had spent pondering the outcome of this run, with the clear understanding that this would be the defining moment of the past 30 days of my life. And it all came down to this one single opportunity. I counted each second in anticipation as I waited behind the starting line, my confidence skyrocketing to match the pressure that had saturated my mind. I was going to give this run everything I had, and as the snow encompassing the road reflected my newfound optimism, I took my first step forward. The race had begun. During long runs like these, it's really important to keep a consistent pace throughout them, especially if you're running distances you've never run before and setting goals that you're not sure if you can achieve. Now, after interrogating the weird guy in my backyard, I figured out that the best pace to run 13 miles in under 2 hours was around 9 minutes per mile. So it would be really dumb if I ended up going way faster than that for the first 9 miles, right? Anyways, I ended up carrying my phone for the first mile just so I could record my thoughts during the very start of this run. So here's what I was thinking. Okay, I'm about a mile into this. Probably not going to record much, but I'm just trying to keep under a 9-minute pace. See you at the finish line. The way that I kept myself on track to finishing this run and getting the time I wanted was looking at my watch every so often because it tells me what pace I'm running. And something that the video doesn't really capture is just how cold and windy it was outside, which didn't bother me at first, but it slowly caught up to me throughout the run. And after a quick mental pep talk and after glancing at the long road ahead of me, I kept on running. The first 8 miles of this run really surprised me. Not only was I going way under my 9-minute pace, I wasn't feeling too fatigued and I was ready to conquer the last 5 miles. But then I turned a corner on the road and started facing the wind head on, which made me feel a lot colder. I tried to muscle through it for a couple of minutes, but my ears and lips started to get really cold, so I decided it would be best to wait in the car to warm up for a couple minutes before anything bad might have happened. Okay, so I'm about an hour into this and my lips started feeling kind of cold, so I just took a second in the car to warm up, but now I'm gonna finish it. I initially felt pretty discouraged because I had just spent 5 minutes waiting in the car, but instead of letting this get me too down, I shook off any feelings of discouragement, I got out of the car, and I ran the hardest I possibly could to finish the last 5 miles of this run. The next 5 miles were definitely the toughest because the maximum distance I had ever run when training for this had been 10 miles. I was still a little cold at this point, but not as much as before. I remember around the 10th mile, I had over 40 minutes to complete the rest of the run, which is a ton of time. But since I had run so fast at the start, my body couldn't really keep up anymore. I was hanging on by a thread, but I picked myself up again and kept going. After an hour and 45 minutes of running, I finally reached the last mile of this long, cold run. It was at this point that running started to get really challenging, and during this mile, I was forced to walk frequently as my entire body started shutting down. But eventually, after a couple of slow, challenging laps around this neighborhood, I turned a corner on the road and faced the final 200 meters of the longest race of my life. I glanced at my watch as I rounded the corner, fully aware that I had to sprint as fast as I possibly could if I was going to finish this race in under 2 hours. Mentally brushing aside all feelings of pain, I was determined to run at speeds exceeding the limits of my exhausted body, and I was fueled by a sudden burst of energy as I bolted towards the finish line. I was not going to let all of my labor be for nothing, and with a final burst of determination and willpower, I crossed the finish line, filled with passion, excitement, and relief. I actually did it. I finished the run in under 2 hours. I can't explain to you just how happy and exciting this moment was for me. I was so proud of myself for being able to run harder than I've ever run before for such a long period of time, and relieved that I was able to wrap up the previous 30 days of my life by reaching this goal that I had dreamed of for weeks. Looking back on this moment always makes me smile, and accomplishing such a big milestone always motivates me to get back up again whenever I'm feeling down or lost throughout my daily life. And I wanted to wrap up this really special moment by showing you this video I took immediately after the run. I'm so happy I ended up reaching my goal, and I just feel like this was the perfect way to wrap up the past month. And this past month has been the happiest of my life, and I've experienced the most positive change I've ever experienced. And I'm just really happy to have brought you guys along, so thank you so much for all your support. So yeah. See you guys in the next clip. But something was missing. And no, it wasn't the old lady's purse that I borrowed during the run, or the bird that I kidnapped because I got hungry. And if you haven't guessed it yet, I'll give you a hint. The object that was missing tastes like a cylinder. That's right, I was missing my lettuce. Wait, no, I actually had that. No, I was missing my popsicle, which I grabbed shortly after I had finished sanitizing my mouth with lettuce. It's pretty good. But just before I took a bite out of the popsicle, I suddenly paused. Something about eating it in this spot just didn't feel right. I had to go somewhere else. So I broke into the car closest to me and proceeded to make my hasty getaway, driving towards my favorite little hill so I could relax and enjoy a beautiful, cozy sunset. As I made my quick getaway, I had time to contemplate the past 30 days of my life, and I started to question what the purpose of the video really was, and if spending so much time away from the camera doing things like working out every single day and learning cursive, which is obviously something I learned, was really worth it. But then I quickly realized that showing you all the little details behind the scenes wasn't the purpose of this video at all. The purpose of this video was to show you guys how removing something that you feel is unproductive and time consuming from your life, and replacing it with healthy things that you absolutely love doing can make you dramatically happier and a much more positive person overall. Which is why I wanted to pose this question to you. Would you be willing to give up something that you feel is unproductive from your life and replace it with things that you absolutely love doing? And just know that if you decide to do this, your experience doesn't need to be nearly as extreme as mine was. It could consist of just spending a little bit more time with your family, or going on a walk whenever you're feeling a little bit down. You can literally spend time doing whatever you want that makes you feel better about yourself, and it only has to last 1 week. I strongly encourage you to do this because the small experience could impact you for years to come, and has the potential to make you feel just a little bit happier and a little more positive throughout your daily life. And with that out of the way, there was just one thing left for me to do. Go up this hill in the middle of the winter while holding a popsicle without getting too many weird looks from the locals. And I'm not gonna lie, a couple of weird looks were pointed my direction, but I quickly brushed those people aside with my fist and continued to walk up the short little mountain. I'm pretty sure that's the scientific name for this thing. And when I finally got to the top, the view was breathtaking. Literally, it was getting harder to breathe, I was so high up. But that's besides the point. Anyways, after taking one last look at the popsicle I had been carrying around with me for almost an hour, I took my first bite out of it, completely disregarding the friendship we had formed together. That's right, my best friend was a popsicle, and I still enjoyed eating it. Now, I hope that doesn't say anything bad about me, and in the future, please don't avoid becoming friends with me, because I would hate for this moment to ruin that possibility between us, and because it's always nice to stock up on some more food. Now, before you get too concerned, don't worry, it's completely fine. It's a family tradition. You know, my great-great-grandmother's father said it best. Eat people when hungry. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I just made that whole story up. My great-great-grandmother's father wasn't actually a person. What do you think this is, Canada? He was actually a toaster, and we still loved him for it. Anyways, I think I've just about wrapped everything up here. I'm gonna stop talking before I go to jail, and I'll see you the next time you fall asleep. I'm not gonna use any of this, am I? So now I just erase this thing. Shouldn't be too difficult. What? Yep, looks like my work here is done.